America's intelligence services that worked with bin Laden until his death in 2001 still respect him as an honored ally and hero. They actually had Benazir Bandar Bush on CNN actually saying that right after 9/11, on Larry King saying, don't talk bad about him, he's a hero. I don't agree with this, of course, but the point is that some could say he could be buried at Arlington. In fact, no single living American can prove he has suffered more, fought more, or risked more for America than Osama bin Laden. Shocked? You should be. And then it just goes on to break down the fact that he was a globalist asset. And the article has a lot of facts in it, but it's there to basically get you to realize he is a globalist stooge. We're going to go to break with this little piece put together by one of our YouTube team. And then we're going to come back with our guest. CDC increases pressure on parents to vaccinate kids with deadly toxins. Doctor calls police child services on mother who refuses to vaccinate son. It's all coming up after this break. And if you're watching this out there in the internet land, you want to be part of the team and help support what we're doing, subscribe at PrisonPlanet.tv, 15 cents a day, or simply get a free 15-day free trial at PrisonPlanet.tv or InfoWarsNews.com. We are real news, real analysis, teleprompter free. We'll be right back.
I believe that abortion should be safe and legal in this country. I have since the time that my mom took that position when she ran in 1970 as a U.S. Senate candidate. I believe that since Roe v. Wade has been the law for 20 years, that we should sustain and support it. And I sustain and support that law and the right of a woman to make that choice.
But I believe the world is getting warmer. I can't prove that, but I believe, based on what I read, that the world is getting warmer. And number two, I believe that humans contribute to that.
Governor Romney, as president, would you have signed the National Defense Act as written?
Yes, I would have, and I do believe that it's appropriate to have in our nation the capacity to detain people who are threats to this country, who are members of Al-Qaeda.
Bauen und arbeiten an der Wiederaufrichtung unseres deutschen Volkes. Deutsches Volk, die uns viele Jahre, und ich schwöre dir, so wie wir und so wie ich in dieses Amt eintrat, so will ich das gehen. Ich tat es nicht um Gehalt und nicht um Lohn, ich tat es um deiner selbst willen.
Internationally, President Obama has adopted an appeasement strategy. He believes that America's role as leader in the world is a thing of the past. I believe a strong America must and will lead the future. He doesn't see the need for overwhelming American military superiority. I will insist on a military so powerful no one would ever think of challenging it.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
Hello, how are you, ma'am? Hi. My name's Heyman Matlock. I'm with the Thomas Unified School District.
It's not easy going door to door, making sure students are vaccinated.
Your daughter is on independent study.
Yes.
Kayla, has she been verified with her TDAP?
No.
Okay. We were coming today to give her a TDAP if she hasn't had it done yet.
Get the off my house.
Hamus Matlock dealing with a lot of sticky situations. Despite weeks of free clinics and warnings, some Natomas kids still have not received a shot for whooping cough. He has a list of more than 4.
Okay, what you just saw from that California TV station is the type of deception that we deal with on a daily basis. Now, most of the reporters and people involved are just unconscious, repeating the hoax. But as a public service announcement, what you just saw is an attempt at fraud and coercion. They say it's mandated. We're here. Well, I'm coming in to give you this shot. When there's no law that your children have to take these vaccines. And the vaccine companies that have government liability protection with your tax money are lined up around the block to try to get states and the federal government to mandate their vaccine. That means pushing on you outside of law because they make tens of billions a year per vaccine. It is outrageous, and we're now seeing all across the United States because vaccination numbers are plummeting as people get informed about how it lowers immunity, a lot of times gives you what they claim it's treating, causes autoimmune responses, brain damage. As all of this comes out, the number of people vaccinating is plummeting, and there's statistics out there where the more highly educated you are and the more highly educated an area is, the less vaccinations going on. So there's all sorts of fear-mongering over this, that if we don't have hundreds of these shots in our lifetime, that somehow we're going to die. And if we don't have 50-plus shots by the age of 2.5, why it's all over. And we've seen this hoax that it's the law that you've got to be vaccinated, even though all it is a government regulation to attend school that is a policy, not law. But they will lie to you. They will tell you you're going to go to jail. It's part of a giant hoax. Now, yesterday I was sent an email, and I called the lady and tracked it down with Rob Dew and did confirm her case. She gave us copies of the letter that the state police left on her door twice. They also, with CPS, visited with her neighbors, trying to dig up dirt on her, all because she took her 2.5-year-old son to a new pediatrician and explained, I'm not going to be vaccinated. You're not going to give that to my son who doesn't have any health problems, because we're concerned about dangers in vaccines. It's all over the news. And the pediatrician tried to basically push her to do it for an hour. The lady left, and then the police show up at her house with Child Protective Services, implying it was illegal not to get vaccinated. And so here in a moment, I'll put up on screen the actual Pennsylvania code that's the same in all the other states, that it is a regulation, not a law, and that they have a waiver. But the waiver itself puts you on a health department list as if you've done something wrong. And they tried to get her via federal mandates, Rachel Garman and her husband, to sign a form saying that you're endangering your child and that you're basically abusing him, which they then used to have the CPS be sicked on you. She refused that, left, but they had her address, phone number, and all that information, and sent the police there. This is just incredible. Even if you're for vaccines and you think if the vaccine companies come out with 10,000 vaccines, that we should have 50 shots a day, even if you believe this is all wonderful and Guillain-Barrés and increases in cancer and going from 1 in 25,000 20-something years ago with autism to 1 in 68 and growing, maybe you think this curse, this blight is a great thing. Still, is it good to get on TV and lie to people and to tell parents in the schools you're going to go to jail if you don't do this? So that's why we're exposing this hoax. And there's so many other issues we see in dinosaur prostitute media outlets that are bought and paid for. Hell, half their ads in many cases in magazines, TV, radio, and print are big pharma. Even if you agree with this medical tyranny, is it good to lie to the public and run this hoax? The truth is, the fact that they've been engaged in all this fraud is going to blow up in their face in a big way. Now, joining us in this expose is investigative journalist. He's worked with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, a medical doctor, one of the leading experts on vaccine damage. But he also got involved investigating this when his youngest son was damaged by a vaccine, and he's been able to reverse much of the problems. See, mainline doctors won't even tell you it can be reversed, because they don't want to admit it's in the gut and a toxicity that's affecting the brain. Just like when you drink a half gallon of liquor, it affects the brain. The gut and the brain are connected. We've interviewed many of the top medical doctors on that subject. And he's been writing a lot of great articles for INFOWARS.com in an attempt to warn the public. He's Curt Linderman Sr., and the articles are: Doctor Calls Police Child Services on Mother Who Refuses to Vaccinate Son. So that's like saying, you refuse to go on whatever other drug they want, so they call the police on you. And another one, CDC increases pressure on parents to vaccinate kids with deadly toxins. He put that one out yesterday at INFOWARS.com. Both excellent articles. But here's the issue. Because they know we're waking up, you're noticing when you go to Walgreens or CVS, they push vaccines on you with signs, and the clerks and the pharmacist. You see the advertising intensifying, billboards, banner hangs, airplanes flying around with signs trying to scare you, brainwashing the children, trying to turn them against their parents in the public schools. All of this is being done because they know there's an awakening, and now the CDC is sending letters to people's houses, funding local bureaucrats to go to your door and try to force shots on you, as you saw in the earlier clip. This is so outrageous. And yes, for the first time ever, there is actually a law in California that they can give your young child vaccines without asking you. Now, somebody, some pervert, can't pick up a 12-year-old girl, even if she consents, because it's statutory rape. She's not at an age to be able to consent. A child may consent to drinking alcohol, but you can't give it to them because they're a minor. You're corrupting them. And it's the same thing for the state to come out. We have a clip of this coming up later, and to go on CNN and say, look, so what? Parents don't need to know. This is the government trying to take over society. Now, they still claim it's not forced. It's just if they can trick your kid into the van with them, basically, that's what this is. It's one step away from that. Well, then it's okay. So just off the chart information. But I want Curt Linderman Sr. to break down his own experiences a little bit later after we talk about what's happening with Rachel Garman. And this happens to countless people every day, this attempt to intimidate people into taking these dangerous vaccines. Curt, thanks for coming on with us today.
Honor to be here, Alex.
Well, it's an honor to have you. You've written an article about this. Obviously, the interview's now up at PRISONPLANET.tv from the radio today. But what do you think of what they did to this lady?
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword. She kind of put herself right in the den, the lair, if you will. But that's the one thing they hate the most is a strong, healthy, and intelligent, educated mom and dad. They hate that. And this lady, Rachel Garman, is exactly that. They barked up the wrong tree with her.
And, of course, you say put herself in the den. A family practitioner you've known for a long time is generally better, or doing research for doctors that don't vaccinate or won't push it on you. But they federalize, for those that don't know. Explain that. The pediatrician, I mean, you might as well go be in a police lockup or be interrogated at Gitmo. I mean, they're there treating you as if you're guilty.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And the thing is what I would suggest to most parents is if your child's not sick, stay the heck away from the doctors. Find a good homeopath. Find a naturopath. If you do feel the need to have a pediatrician on hand, then find a family doctor that agrees with your stance. Just don't go willy-nilly out there and just find a doctor out of the phone book. That's just not the way to do it.
Now, in your own personal story, the doctor that gave your son the vaccines, and then he went from being perfectly fine to having serious problems. He's now woken up and is actually against vaccines, speaking out against it, which is a great testimony to the fact that most of these doctors are just ignorant. But hearing about the profile of this doctor that called the police, that sent CPS in against this mother, when the mother's like, I'm educated, I'm informed, no, I'm not going to do this, no, it's not the law. What does this doctor sound like to you?
Brainwashed. I am quite certain, like most of the pediatricians out there, they didn't join the medical profession to poison children. They believe this as much as the parents do, that they're doing the right thing. They're doing what is needed to be done. They're as uneducated as many of the parents out there are. That's the thing. We have to get the doctors educated as well as the parents.
Look, you're the expert on this with a vaccine injured child, but how often do you hear about or read about these cases where they're sending the police after people or having the police corner people at the hospital with a newborn baby?
I hear about it constantly. The Godboldo case recently was one of those cases that made national news and even international news. But every day, the coercion is there. And they make you feel like you're being a horrible parent if you don't vaccinate. And that's how they get you. And then they've always got the CPS in the background ready to jump on you.
And again, it's not a law. Tell us about the Godboldo case.
The Godboldo case is a lady out of living in Detroit, Michigan, and her 13-year-old daughter, vaccine injured, a lot of issues. And this was a case of the CPS worker basically saying your mother's not going to put you on risperidol. So we're going to take you from your parents. And that's the case where the police, the SWAT teams, actually busted down her door, and they had a tank in the front